Is it too late for me to portal out?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, it's me, and the guy online is Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by depression. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you guys for being live with us right now. Every time I think things can't get worse, they get worse. Milroe's going to catch a lot of heat, and he should. He played terrible. God, he played bad. He looked like a guy who doesn't want to be drafted unless it's by the military or something. He played like that the last 4 or 5 games. DeBoer, I don't know where to start there. He's on the hot seat if you ask me. That was such a poor coaching effort. Nick Sheridan, I'm fine. Let's just get rid of him. I'm done. I'm calling a run play earlier in one of those drives when we needed, passing plays. The game plan was crap. Everything about it was crap. The defense, congrats. Y'all played your tails off. Y'all were put in an unenviable position. Gave up 16 points because Michigan started in our red zone 3 straight times. Just a disgusting, disgusting effort all the way around. But, man, I feel bad for Milroe. There are people already in the comments saying, I'm ready for y'all to stop saying he's a great ambassador at university. He was. I don't know that he
still is
anymore. Yeah, I guess he will.
That's a different topic than how good does he play the quarterback position. It's completely different.
But he quarterback just ain't his thing, man. I don't know. I can't believe how. And then to see the frustration on Ryan Williams' face, on Jeremy Bernard's face, saddened me. But I'm going to tell you, while we're going to all kill Milroe, and I think a lot of y'all are already, and that's fine. I get it. I totally get it. I understand. DeBoer needs a lot of killing. He needs a lot of it. Let me tell you what he did this year. He lost it to Vanderbilt. It was probably the worst loss in Alabama history, at least it's up there. Now it's not because we ended up losing 4 games. At the time it was. Loses to Oklahoma 24-3. We don't score a touchdown against Oklahoma. They just lost to Navy. They're not good. And then he loses to a Michigan team that you and I said, if he loses this game, it's going to be catastrophic. Michigan had so many people out. Michigan's game plan was, oh God, please let Jalen Milroe try and win this game for y'all. I'm just talking off the top of my head. Jam Miller, I love him, but I'm fine if he's not the starter next year. I've still seen no burst, so none. Justin Jefferson, you want to get a penalty like that? It's fine with me if you don't get to come back next year. I don't care what the JUCO ruling is. I think that's so dumb. That to me is like a kick-offable offense almost. Yet we put him in after sitting him for 1 play. I would have had much more respect if we had said, no, you sit over here. Sit over here and understand that you're hurting your team. You hurt your team then, and you're hurting your team now because of what you did. Not because of what we did. We have a policy. You can't throw punches when nobody did anything to it. I mean, I saw the play. It wasn't dirty. It's typical football stuff, man. It's really aggravating that this team, after we start out 4-0, we beat Georgia, and we end up losing 4 games, Jimmy. That's just inexplicable. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you that was fine. I think that sort of summed it up. I'm not too interested in rehashing the game. I'm more interested in the future. There's never been a page that needed turning more than off this 2024 team. And now I think it's fair to say 2024 to some extent was a referendum on Jalen. To some extent was a referendum on the transition. And it was a fail. It was an absolute fail. Now, 2025 is about Kalen DeBoer. you're either good enough to be the head coach at Alabama or you're not. And we're going to find that out in 2025 because while I don't think hot seat's the right way to put it, because he just got here, and I don't even think replacing someone after year two is even economically feasible, frankly, in terms of what that buyout would be. But regardless of that, uh, regardless of whether you use the term hot seat or not, next year is all about whether Kalen DeBoer is good enough to be the head coach at Alabama. That's what next year is now about. I said it before the game. I'm not changing my mind. I said if they lost this game, it's going to be in a really long offseason where the question of the day is Kalen DeBoer and his staff good enough for Alabama? And that's they earned the 9 months of questioning that's coming. And for those that want to blame it on Jalen, I 100% get it. He was disgraceful. And for those that say we do nothing but defend him, me and Luke both, after Tennessee, after Oklahoma, we called Jalen Milroe's performance after those games disgraceful. And we're doing it again. That's at least the third game this year where Jalen Milroe was so bad, he didn't give the team a chance to win the game. That's just an honest evaluation of what happened. The team didn't have a chance to win because the play at his position was bad. Now, the play at a lot of positions on offense was bad. It wasn't just Jalen, but he played extremely poorly. The team was extremely poorly prepared to play a good team. And that's not the first time we've said that this year. And again, there's about to be 9 months of serious questions facing the coaching staff, and they earned it. They earned it because they lost to 3 teams that this roster had no business losing to, but they did. And that's on the coaches. So as much as people would like to just blame it on Jalen, I blame it on who's responsible for the performance of the football team, and that's Kalen DeBoer and his coaching staff.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. And I don't know why on earth that people would have a ton of faith going into next year. That's the other thing that bothers me. I'd love to be optimistic. I mean, and maybe as the winter months pass and we bloom into spring, into summer, maybe I will start feeling better. But
I think a lot of the negativity about to go on a rant here. I think a lot of the negativity about Ty Simpson is 100% misplaced. It comes from a place of this. They must think Ty stinks because they won't try another quarterback. That, in my opinion, that has nothing to do with nothing. They made a decision back in May and June. This was Jalen Milroe's football team. He was the quarterback, period. Jalen's done enough good things to where he was the quarterback of this team. I don't think Ty and his proficiency had a lot to do with any decisions that were made this fall. This was Jalen's football team. He held the football team together when the whole roster could have collapsed. He was 6th in the Heisman balloting a year ago. Gravedigger beats Georgia, comes out of the gate this year, beats Georgia. This was his football team. He was the quarterback. I mean, now I'm not comparing him to Joe Burrow. I'm not doing that. But understand when I say Burrow can play bad about 5 or 6 games in a row. Guess what's going to happen in the 7th game? Joe Burrow is going to be the quarterback of the Bengals. And that's how entrenched this staff saw Jalen. Now, criticize that if you want. Criticize that all you want. But that's what happened. It doesn't have to do with Ty. I think Ty is going to be good. But do I think Ty's the certain starter? No, I think there will be a competition that is ongoing between him and Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. But I think the people that come from the stance of Ty must not be good, otherwise he would be out there, I completely disagree with that take. I don't think that has anything to do with anything.
Yeah, okay. I hate to do this, but I got to go to break. I mean, I hate doing anything right now. I hate coming on live. I hate breathing. I hate all of it. Let me tell you about Game Time, though. That's a bright spot. I'll tell you, it is a bright spot for me. I used Game Time the other day to go to the Alabama basketball game. I got tickets for me, my 2 daughters, my wife. We went and had a blast. And I got some really great tickets. And I was able to move up some. Maybe it was a Sunday afternoon game. It wasn't full, and I was able to move up a little bit, and it was great. Game Time's the best. And if it had been my first time, I would have used code Locked On College to get $20 off that first order, which would have helped. but I didn't need it because I've saved so much money with Game Time already. Doesn't matter. And I'm going to use Game Time tomorrow to go to the Peach Bowl. The ticket prices are dropping. I've been watching Game Time, and I can't wait to just go to the Peach Bowl tomorrow and see Arizona State get beat, probably, because that's another team I cheer for. So why don't all the teams I cheer for just go ahead and lose? Game Time is where you want to go. What time is it, y'all? Y'all know it's game time up in here? Going back to the very first of the game is, what's funny is Jalen Milroe was the Tampa weather today. It's just a pouring downpour, cats and dogs sleeping together kind of storm. Everything's going nuts. And then it's bright and sunny and everything's all sunshiny. It's bipolar. That's what Jalen Milroe was today.
I think it's just bad. I mean, there's bad Jalen and good Jalen, and we haven't seen good Jalen in a good while now. And as to what's up with that, I don't know. And frankly, again, as I said, I'm ready to turn the page. It really doesn't matter. I know that his name's going to continue to come up, particularly, here it will. I'm going to try to tamper that down best I can because there's no reason to talk about it anymore. I mean, it's time to turn the page and turn it over to the next guy, whether that's Ty or Austin Mack or even ultimately Keelan Russell, which is possible. But, Jalen's been really bad today. Again, he didn't give his team a chance to win the game. It was that bad, but it was also that bad against Oklahoma. And he was also really bad against Tennessee up in Knoxville. I think what I'm settling on here is 2024 was about Jalen Milroe, and that was a fail. And 2025 will be about Kalen DeBoer.
Definitely. I tweeted this out. I said this game must have been like a virtual blue chew for Danny Cannell. There's no telling how excited he was watching this game and seeing Michigan win.
He'll finally be right about something.
He will be right. And look, that's what sucks about this. Because, I mean, while we all had a come apart that SMU gets in and stinks, we go in and stink, and then it's sort of like, what were y'all complaining about? And they have a point. Mm-hmm. I mean, as somebody else, what's the new saying now? The haters got this one right. Actually, very, very good observation by the haters this time. And I'm not going to listen to any more. All I've heard from, and I love the guy, but Tyler Booker, oh man, it's, we've been so focused and we're bearing down on this. Y'all give me a break. Y'all haven't been focused in quite some time, and don't even give me LSU for that.
Well, I'm not sure what they're supposed to say. I mean, I think it's a problem. All of a sudden, these kids have a platform that they didn't have before because of NIL. They have a platform now. They do these interviews now. Saban, before NIL, we never would have heard from any of these players like this. Saban kept them under wraps. Now you can't keep them under wraps because they literally have NIL obligations. So now they're talking all the time. And I do think some of the fans I'm so sick of hearing them talk. They have to talk. It's and what do you want them to say? We stink. We're terrible. The locker room is bad. We don't like the quarterback. I mean, what do y'all?
I'll tell you what I don't want him to say.
What do you think they're gonna say?
I can tell you what I don't want him to say. We're super focused and ready for this game. And then you come out and do that. Yeah. Don't say that. Say something else. I don't know what. I mean, I don't know. I know what you shouldn't say now.
The talking that I didn't like this team did had nothing to do with the media or their quotes. I think they were terrible trash talkers on the field all year. I saw it repeatedly all year long, and they couldn't back it up. They're not good enough to talk as much trash as they do on the field. I mean, and I do think that talking has to end. There's too much talking after plays when we're losing, or even if we're winning, because we lost the last week. I mean, that I don't care for that talking. I think when they talk to the media, I just kind of expect. That's why I don't hang on their every quote. They're just filling space,
Boy, I'm going to tell you, this one hits hard. This one's tough, and to be, I mean, for us even to be so, I hate to say so blinded. Everybody always says Alabama fans are delusional. We hadn't been delusional for a while because we've been winning so much. And now, because we're going things like 9-4, we look a little delusional, and we're losing to 3 unranked teams. That's disgusting.
It was the worst Alabama season since 2007. No question that's true. The thing that's so hurtful is other Alabama teams that lost 4 games, they didn't have good rosters. I mean, this team had a good roster. This team was capable of doing so much more, and they did not. So that is on the coaches. But it was a transition year. It was Nick Saban's team. It was not Kalen DeBoer's team, and that's what I said. I'm not giving DeBoer a pass at all, because I'm saying, hey, you better start proving it right now, man. So I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just saying, all right, let's see what you got next year, because you need to show it, because if it's bad again next fall, we're in big trouble. We're in the pig pen, in the slop.
Yeah, it's bad, and I'll tell you something. I feel like you're taking this better than I am. I am much.
Usual.
Yeah, that is true.
Usual.
I feel like you're less concerned than me. I'm super concerned right now.
I've turned the page to 2025, and I'm concerned that next fall, if this isn't better, then what? That I don't think people realize what a problem that is. I mean, we're going into a revenue sharing situation next fall where literally 25% of all revenues will be given to the players. That's never happened before in college football anywhere. So Alabama's got a serious revenue issue, as does everybody else. And we're going to do this at the same time that the fans decide we've got to fire the coach that we owe $66 million to. I mean, you know what I'm saying is that I don't even want to think about how bad that is.
And it's so bad, Jimmy, because all you had to do was beat Vandy or Oklahoma or Michigan, and none of this is a problem.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm going to tell you something. I thought Sharon Moore looked pretty lost out there at times. I guess he was being pretty smart. Like, hey, we're just going to run up the middle until and let Milroe have the ball again because he can't do nothing. And
it was almost like their game plan was, we're just going to get out of Milroe's way and let him lose this game for Alabama. And now I do think this. I'll give Michigan some credit. We got out-coached 1,000,000-0 by Wink Martindale. I mean, I think Wink Martindale out-coached us 1,000,000-0. He did have a good plan with lesser players, and that's what it takes. That's what coaching is. When I can take my lesser players and beat your better players because I'm out chess matching you. I think he did that defensively, and that's why Michigan won the game. And I give a lot more credit to Martindale than even Sharon Moore. But hey, that's what good coaches do. They hire great, and then they get out of the way and let their guys do their thing.
Look, I'm trying. I mean, the comments are coming fast and furious. Appreciate all you guys, even the guys that are here to hate and say we're losers and we suck. And Jimmy and I agree. We're losers and we do suck. We agree with that part. Alabama has been pretty good forever, but you want to come and revel in our demise? Look, I'm all for it. I hear you. It's cool. I would do the same thing.
Thanks for the support.
But Frosty Mug says ESPN did the SEC no favors with constant SEC propaganda. The country is sick of it, and they're laughing their asses off right now. Let me tell you, first of all, I'm not going to say the SEC. I'm so tired of the anti-SEC propaganda. The SEC has earned their place atop college football's mountain. They've just sort of stunk it up a little bit this year. Alabama wasn't where they need to be. Even Georgia really isn't where they need to be. Texas was supposed to be awesome. The only team they played all year beat them twice in Georgia. So, I mean,
wait
I
to
agree
see how the year plays out before I would. I mean, we could. Can't we potentially have Georgia versus Texas in the national championship game?
Good.
And is the NFL, SEC propaganda when the most players drafted from a conference will be the SEC for like the 23rd year in a row? I don't think it's propaganda. I think the SEC is the best league. I also think people need to take into account, I'm not saying that what Frosty there said is correct, but I do think people need to take into account the reality of college football now, which is the SEC is owned by ESPN and the Big Ten is owned by Fox. Mm-hmm. So the Fox guys are going to prop up the Big Ten and the ESPN guys are going to prop up the SEC because that's the reality of these billion-dollar contracts. Mm-hmm. That's true. But the SEC is the best league because they have the best players. And if you don't like me saying that, don't take it up with me. Take it up with the 32 NFL teams that keep drafting all these SEC guys, and they will do so again.
going to tell you about FanDuel right now. The NFL playoffs are, they're a week away or so. But it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many more ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It is thrilling. It does make the game more fun. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at 250 smacks and bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, which, of course, is official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I guess I should be happy Graham Nicholson hit a 51-yard field goal. That was a bright spot. If we're trying to find a bright spot, that might be it. Xavier Brown got an interception.
Yeah, I give the defense a B. Not even better than a B minus, a B. They get a B. They don't get an A because they had a chance. That last score that Michigan, the defense wasn't perfect. They were pretty good. Now, of course, they're playing against a team they should have shut down, and the defense kept Alabama in this game. I give the defense a B today. I give the offense an F minus. Same grade I gave them after Oklahoma.
Rico Scott, bright spot. Mild bright spot. I'm not going to say
excited about his future.
Bolitnikoff, but I thought he looked pretty good out there.
I'm excited about his future. Ryan's catch at the end where he was out of bounds, unbelievable. His punt return, Ryan almost single-handedly just kind of won the game at the end.
Did you not think that when he turned the corner, I was thinking he scores. If he doesn't score here, we don't win. Now, I'll admit when we hit the best play all day that we called offensively, I thought was the screen pass, which almost got blown up late in the game on the final drive, and to Jam Miller, and Jam Miller. Again, I'll say this, and maybe people think I'm wrong. I haven't gone back and looked at it. I think a more talented running back may even score on that. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Jam's another guy. I wouldn't say he's got to prove it next year. It's a senior year. Next year. But Jam's got to be better. I think people blame Jam's lack of production on Jalen. They've blamed it on Nick Sheridan. They blamed it on the offensive line. I think all of those things are factors, but I also think a lot of it is Jam. He's got to improve.
Somebody said, Luke, what about DeBoer's shirt? Yeah, it sucked. I'm tired of him wearing that junk. But everybody like, well, that's just him. Okay. Well, is him? How would you feel if you were Ty Simpson? That's what bothers me. I can't remember exactly. I think it was the interception. I'll tell you what. This is what's weird. If Xavier Brown doesn't get that pick, and the momentum switches a little bit, I wonder. I'd be willing to bet he's going to say no. But I was thinking to myself, if they punt here, and we get it and don't fumble it or something, this is where you put Ty in. You can't put it. You either put him in here or you ride Milroe the whole way. But we got an interception, and I'm not sure that you want to make a quarterback change right there because you just got the momentum and you don't know what that'll do. I thought that even though it seems counterintuitive, like it would have been better for Ty to get the ball after a punt further back than get the ball after an interception when we seemingly had momentum, and we're like, okay, let's play it safe at quarterback again. I say play it safe. Milroe's obviously the more risky quarterback in hindsight, but oh my God.
Well, when you say what is Ty thinking right now?
Yeah, that was a long way for me to ask that.
This is what I would suggest Ty start thinking right now is that line from that Tom Hanks movie, Captain Phillips, the line from the Somali pirate, I am the captain now. That's what he needs to be thinking, and he needs to be texting his receivers, hey, when we get back to Tuscaloosa, hey, we're gonna throw the ball tomorrow. He needs to become the quarterback of this team well before there's meetings and there's appointments of things like captains. Ty needs to be the quarterback of this team starting this afternoon, and he can do that by being the quarterback. You're the quarterback now. Take charge of this offense and basically proclaim that what happened this year is behind them and it's a new day and it's a new start. That's what he needs to be thinking.
Oh, this one's tough, Jimmy. Another bad loss.
Man, all 4 losses. Now, Tennessee was a good team on the road. I don't consider. I know that Alabama played poorly and Jalen played poorly, but Tennessee was a good team with a good roster, a playoff team. I don't. But Oklahoma, Vandy, and Michigan, and particularly scaled down Michigan, just terrible. Like I said, disgraceful is the only way to put it. That roster should not have lost any of those 3 games. And like Luke said, just win one of them and we feel a little differently. But they lost all of them. And 2 of those 3 games are on the offense. The defense lost the game in Nashville. I mean, the offense scored 35. You scored 35 points in Nashville, you should win 99 out of 100 times. But the defense lost the game in Nashville, but the offense lost the game in Norman, and the offense lost the game in Tampa. And really, that starts with Jalen. Again, I'll write it a lot on BOL. I'll say it a lot on the show. 2024 was about Jalen, and that was a fail. Now, Jalen still has a lot of raw tools, and I still think he's going to be drafted pretty high in this draft, believe it or not. And I'll be pulling for him in the draft process. But I'm at the same time, I'm very much ready to turn the page and talk about something else.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that stinks about this. This game gave us nothing to even grab onto for next year, right? I mean, we didn't get to see Ty Simpson, so we don't know. I mean, we're still going in relatively unknown. There are people out there who've already written him off. I understand, and I get it. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm telling you, you can't. It's a little early to make a judgment on him.
Day 1, practice 1. Day 1, practice 1. Spring practice should be sometime around Monday, March 2nd. That's not an official date. That's me guessing. Monday, March 2nd. Day 1, practice 1. First team offense hits the field. Who's going to be the quarterback? Ty Simpson. Now, does that mean Ty will be the first team quarterback throughout every practice of the spring and every practice of the fall? I don't know. I can't foretell the future. But for those that write him off, I'll just say Ty's going to be the first team quarterback on the first day of spring. Now we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, but we didn't get to see enough of Richard Young to make a difference. I mean,
No.
honest to God, I know Richard Young was out there.
He had a couple carries. He had one inside carry that was pretty good. I was a little surprised late in the game. I think they threw a screen pass to Daniel Hill.
To Daniel, it wasn't a screen pass. It was Jalen Miller looked down the field and
check down.
God, Jeremy Bernard should be more frustrated than anybody in the country.
He was
open on several occasions. The announcers were like, I don't know what Jalen Miller is looking at. And then he just swings it out to Daniel Hill, who would, just drifted off to the right, essentially. Somebody asked, how did Jalen Mbakwe do? He didn't be a drop. I mean, he didn't get a chance. Thank God he switched to receiver, right?
It was probably more on Milroe than
Mbakwe,
100%. But Mbakwe had no receptions. He did play some. He played some. I think he caught one ball, but was out of bounds when he caught the ball. But Mbakwe was just sort of, again, we'll know more next year. I'm anticipating a situation where Alabama throws the ball more often next season to different targets, whether that's Ty or Austin or Keelan.
The thing that's so hard to take about this one, look, even if we had lost this game, but let's say we had beaten Vanderbilt, which I know it doesn't make any sense because we probably would have been in the playoffs with 2 losses, but just hear me out. If we lose this game and, we just didn't make the playoffs, I think people could write it off like they were so depressed they didn't get in the playoffs. See, this was an opportunity to show we should have been in the playoffs, and we just blew it. And obviously, look, it's hard to take a game like this and say what a team should or shouldn't have done because you don't know how everybody approached it. It's all a different mental aspect. But the narrative is going to be the narrative, and I understand it. I mean,
the group that should be really embarrassed today, this is going to surprise y'all, Auburn. Because somehow in between that disgrace in Norman and that disgrace in Tampa, Alabama beat Auburn. They should be embarrassed.
Yeah, badly, actually. I mean, and without a pass, without throwing a touchdown pass. Today was the first touchdown pass we've thrown since Tennessee against a D1 opponent.
Well, you can't defend Robbie Oost. You can only hope to contain him.
That's so funny. We haven't thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver outside of Mercer. Forget Mercer. Since Tennessee.
it really goes back to Jalen has not played great since Georgia last week in September. And he did play great. He was fantastic. But it's almost like, well, that's it. He's like Costanza at the end of Seinfeld. He's like, good night, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I did tweet out a picture of, remember, Jerry Seinfeld dated the Two-Face, the girl that looked pretty in the light, but in the dark, she looked like a troll. And I said, this is Jalen Milroe in a snapshot. It is.
It is. But I would also say this year he's been a little more consistent. By that, I mean, first 4 games, really good. Last 9 games, pretty bad. Although he was a National Player of the Week within that 9 games. Got to remember that his performance against LSU was literally a National Player of the Week by at least one service. But again, I'm so ready to, hey, this is how much I'm moving on to 2025. Tomorrow on BOL, I'm going to start the pre-spring roster ranking of 2025 tomorrow.
Your coping mechanism is crazy.
That's good, isn't it?
God, I'm
moving on to 2025 tomorrow. I'm not going to revel in 2024, the law, or wallow in it. I'm moving on.
You had to go to Tijuana to get that much copium. Walgreens won't sell you that much. That, folks, for those who don't know, Jimmy's roster countdown usually comes out however many days it is away from fall practice.
I do a pre-spring and a pre. I do a pre-spring and then a pre-fall.
Well, you never did it
this early before. No, I've never done it this early, but it's because of the math. Believe it or not. I mean, believe it or not, it's like 62 days until spring practice starts. Can you believe that? We're going to start practice 62. How many players are on the roster right now? Well, when you subtract guys who are headed to the NFL, and they'll be announcing that this week, really around 64, 65. So if I do 1 per day and double up a couple of the days, I will be right at the start of spring. So
this is why we have the best. This is why Alabama and Auburn do have the best rivalry right here. Back-to-back comments. Seth Keller says, War Eagle, y'all were trash. See ya. Our trashy butt just kicked y'all out to the curb, and y'all ain't even in a bowl game in a year when bowls are dying for people to get in bowl games. And then
y'all lost to that terrible Alabama team. Y'all lost to Milroe twice.
Justin Clayton says, get those preseason award predictions ready. That's true. We probably will have some. Different from Auburn, who hadn't been preseason or postseason awarded anything in 4 years. So, again, I appreciate the continued trash talk. Despite how terrible Auburn's been, they still feel like they can talk trash. Kudos to them. Auburn people keep their heads up. There's nothing else you can say about that.
About Alabama talking trash on the field, not being able to back it up. The Auburn thing is going way too far with that.
Yeah, I know. Look, we could. If Vandy wants to talk trash, we got to listen. If Tennessee wants to talk trash, we got to listen. Even Oklahoma and Michigan, Auburn, y'all need to do something before y'all talk trash. Okay,
yeah, losing to the Alabama team between the Norman and Tampa disgrace. I mean, how did
you lost to bad Milroe?
They did.
That's tough to do.
Yep.
We've proven
the year before they lost to good Milroe. Milroe's numbers at Auburn last year were really good. I know people point to the Gravedigger, but overall his numbers in that game were really good. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Jesus. Well, that's another person who's probably got to be a little down in the dumps is Daniel Moore, because I don't know if you could give away a Gravedigger Daniel Moore print right now.
I can't remember. Yeah. Oh, when he threw that ball to, what was it, Kobe Prentice?
Well, that's what's funny. So Isaiah Bond's gone. People want Jalen Milroe gone. Like, people have packed his stuff. He's going to get back to Tuscaloosa and be like, why is my room empty? And all your stuff right up there, bro.
Plays more like the ghost digger than the grave digger. Those two are ghosts.
Oh my God, Jimmy, this one's gonna hurt. It hadn't sunk in yet, but when I go to bed tonight, I'm gonna be like, we lost to that Michigan team, and we lost to them while we're in the middle of an SEC Big Ten feud. It's so dumb. Everything was dumb. Someone says Luke needs to address the team after losses. I should. What is wrong with y'all? Wait a minute. Shouldn't I address them before we actually lose? I mean, post-loss doesn't help. This is just me venting. This is the same. Here's what makes Locked On Bama different from your other podcasts. Okay? Rightly or wrongly, you don't have to like us, all that stuff. You probably don't like us. That's fine. A lot of people don't like us without the podcast.
That was before we ever had a show.
But this is exactly what we'd be saying to each other. I might be saying it with more cuss words, but I'd be saying this exact stuff to Jimmy if I weren't on camera right now. And that's the way I think a podcast should be done. I can't get up here and fake that, well, I'm optimistic in that the offensive line. No, the offensive line stunk too, by the way.
Well, they did. But
bright spot, James Smith, bright spot.
James Smith played well. And one thing I bring, this is not an excuse. It's just a fact. Caden Proctor's playing hurt to the point that he didn't even play in the second half. Elijah Pritchett played most of the game at left tackle because Caden Proctor's hurt. So that means we didn't have the normal left tackle. We didn't even have the normal right tackle because he had to switch over to the left side. Jaden Roberts played hurt to the point he had to leave the game. So 3 of the 5 offensive linemen were not the normal guys due to injury. And while some people, well, that's just an excuse. No, it's a fact. It's a fact. Now, is that a good enough reason for Alabama to play as badly as they did? No, of course not. But it didn't help. It didn't help. Alabama's significant injury issues up front did not help. That'll be a better group next year, I think.
I'm going to tell you something. Here's the one thing, and I've seen some people sort of sprinkle it in the comments. If we don't do something about discipline, I'm going to be really upset. I'm going to tell you, it is getting hard. I know I do an Alabama podcast. Y'all know I love the University of Alabama. Y'all know I love this football program, right?
Yep.
But it is getting hard to feel the same way with all the kids and this money and the discipline issues and the portal and everything else is getting hard to be invested the same way. Ironically, at a time when financially fans need to be more invested than ever to make your team competitive.
Yep.
So it's getting harder and harder and harder to keep doing it. But
that's why it'll be such a mess. If next year's bad, Luke, I mean, all the Auburn people, y'all listening, just get giddy because obviously there's a lot of Auburn people listening to us complain or whine. If the wheels come off, then the NIL money dries up, and then how do you get better?
You don't.
And then there's this enormous buyout at a time that 25% of athletic department revenues are now going to the players for the first time. And how do you replace that with donations? But the donations dry up when no one's optimistic about the direction of the program. So yeah, it could be if next year is bad, and by bad I'm defining it as this, Luke, a team that does not make the playoff. Although I'll give them if they barely miss the playoff, I might give them a pass on that. But really making the playoff is sort of a must, or there's going to be some. So again, I feel like things will start looking really bleak for all those reasons.
And people stop saying NIL ruined Alabama. And first of all, if that is the case, it hadn't been in effect long enough to ruin us yet because the teams we lost to were unranked. That's not what ruined us. It wasn't other teams getting to our talent. It was bad coaching and bad quarterbacking more than anything.
Everybody's paid NIL money. Why would it affect Alabama differently than everybody else?
So, all right. That's going to do it for today's depression moment.
Hey, tune in tomorrow when we're going to be talking 2025. I'm even starting the pre-roster ranking.
Oh, God.
Got to work on that.
Don't tell me any more of your positivity stuff right now.
It's not positivity. It's like, hey, tomorrow starts 2025. I'm not going to relive 2024. Let's move on. Spring practice starts literally 62, 63 days. It's crazy.
I mean, this is bad. This is bad, dude. This is bad. I want people to quit out there saying, hey, y'all, what the excuses we had. If you've seen an excuse in this podcast, please tell us where it is so I can edit it. I don't edit any of these podcasts ever. How will take the positivity or the excuses out?
Positivity or excuses.
We have said 3 bright spots. We said 3 bright spots, and they're small spots.
Bright spots. Well, there's bright spots because some younger players played okay, like James Smith. Others, didn't. But Ryan Williams, I thought, again. But hey, we'll talk about 2025 starting tomorrow.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.